So when I select the process, whether it be from that job description or from the 4 functions list, it takes me to this screen. Every process has its own process tools page. So every process that you enter into TouchStone, when you select it, it takes you here to the documentation for that process. So every single one of these processes here on the 4 functions, if I select them individually, I'm in on the process tools page for this process called client satisfaction. And if I go back and then I select back on this process, I'm going to go to the documentation or the process tools page for this process. So first, I just want to talk in general about all the functionality on the process tools page. And then specifically, we're going to get into work plans and checklists today and talk about strategies and techniques and tips for how to document these 2 particular tools. So when you select a process, like I just did, the first thing you're going to see is what we call the details of the process, and that's this screen right here. If I want to edit the process title, I can just click right on it, and it opens for me to edit. So most everything in TouchStone that is editable is click to edit. So when you select it, it opens for you to edit. Underneath the title right here is what we call the objective. This says resolve and learn from customer complaints through efficient follow-up and distribution of information. So what this objective is supposed to be is a sentence or a phrase which describes what is this process here for? What is it? What's in it? What's the purpose of it? What's the objective of it? So these objectives are important because when you go to document the process, you want to think about what's the scope of it, what's the purpose of it, what is it here to do, because that helps you think about things like where does it start and where does it end, what is accomplished inside of it. So thinking of that first before you go in and document the process is useful. Also, when you're listing out your processes on the 4 functions list, you may put in a process title that you're thinking of in the moment, and then you may go back to it later and think to yourself, what was this here for? I don't remember. Or someone else may be looking at it and say, what did he mean by that? So that's another reason to document these objectives here in the objective field. In addition, this objective shows up on the job description for any process, any position that this process is linked to. So if we go back to the organization chart here and click on a position, this process is right down here. I'll just drag it to the top so it's easier to see. And you can see the objective right underneath it. If this objective wasn't here, this would just be a blank line. So again, another reason to create these objectives is it kind of fills out your job description a little better. So when anybody's looking at it, they can see specifically what's in it or what this process is. Underneath the objective field, we have these 2 buttons, and we're still on the details of the process right here. This button will turn the process black throughout TouchStone. So you want to fill this in when the process has been completed, when the documentation is done. So you've gone over and used all the tools that were required to fully document the process, then you fill in this button that says process documentation completed. And then if we go back and look at it just on the 4 functions list, it's going to be black with a little check mark. These ones that are blue, that button hasn't been flipped yet. So that just means that somebody's working on them, but they're not done yet. And then the ones in red are no one's even started it. They haven't put any tools in it at all. So it's just a title at that point. You can also uncheck this box. So if somebody has completed or said the documentation is complete, and then you go look at it and it's not, you can uncheck that and it turns it blue again. So it's manual. It's done by you. This second box will allow you to put the process in the public folder. So here on the dashboard, there's this section called Public Processes. And this is for processes that are company-wide information. So sometimes there's some confusion about what goes in the public folder and what doesn't. The public folder is for company-wide information, processes that are used by everyone in the company. They're not the accountability of one or two people. They're more things everybody needs to use and access. If they're the accountability of one or two people, then put them on their job description on the organization chart. Link that process to their job description as opposed to putting it in the public folder. You don't want your public folder kind of cluttered up with all types of processes. Like we talked about last week, if you have a position that fills in for another position, you can just give them access to that person that they fill in for, their job description. So sometimes there's this thought of, I want to put it all in the public folder because then everybody can access it if they need to. So rather than thinking about it that way, preserve the public folder for company-wide information, and instead link the processes to the positions who truly are accountable for them. And then if you have employees who need to have access to more than one position, then just give them access to more than one position, with the understanding that maybe they're not the bookkeeper, but since they're the manager of the bookkeeper, they need to have access to this work as well. Okay, so I'm going to go back here to that process we were just on. Right above the top of the screen here, I just want to point out again this breadcrumb trail. Sometimes it gets missed. Breadcrumb trails throughout TouchStone are a way to show you where you're at. So here you can see where this process lives on the 4 functions list, and you can get back and forth to it pretty quickly. Right above this breadcrumb trail is linked to job description. This will allow you to see which job descriptions this process has been linked to. So right here you can see it's on customer service because it's in orange. From this view, I can link it and unlink it also. So I can choose a position like this one, and strategic and tactical are the 2 sections of the job description, and then you just hit link. And now you can see this one's orange, which lets me know that this customer complaint process has been linked to this position. You can also unlink it just by clicking it, and then it's just going to remove it. And again, I know it's removed because it's not orange anymore. So that's linked to job description. It's just another way to be able to see which processes have been linked to which positions. We're going to talk about the archive here when we get into work plans. But just in general, the archive allows you to take tools that you've documented over here and archive them so that you can edit them and change them, but not forget what it used to look like. And this button allows you to view the archive, or what you have archived. The view deleted is like a trash bin. So if somebody or anybody has gone and deleted process tools over here, and you did that by mistake, or you want to restore them for whatever reason because it was an accident, you can always go to view deleted here and restore them. So on the process tools page, nothing's actually gone forever. It will always end up here in this view deleted, or like a trash can folder. Okay, so over to the left here are all of the tools or templates that we have available for you to document your processes with. So that's what all of these tools are about. The very first one you see here at the top is called a work plan.